In Travels in Central Asia, Meer Izzut-Oollah shares a remarkable journey through the heart of Central Asia in 1812 to 1813. As a pioneering explorer from the east, he ventured through the towering Pamir Mountains, across vast deserts, and into the bustling bazaars of Samarkand and Bukhara. Along the way, he encountered a rich diversity of cultures, from the fierce Turkmen tribes to the sophisticated Uzbeks and Tajiks, each with its own customs, clothing, and hospitality. He experienced the influence of powerful empires like Russia and Persia, navigated dangerous routes filled with bandits, and witnessed vibrant local traditions. Through this journey, Izzut-Oollah paints a vivid picture of Central Asia's landscapes, trade networks, and daily life, offering us a rare glimpse into a world few had seen. Izzut-Oollah describes the breathtaking yet perilous ascent through the Pamir Mountains. These towering ranges, with sharp peaks and narrow passes, tested the endurance of his group. Each step demanded caution, as loose rocks and steep drop-offs threatened to send travelers and pack animals plummeting down cliffs. The altitudes left them breathless, and he specifically mentions a pass where the snow was so deep that their horses sank, forcing them to dismount and proceed on foot. At one point, they came across the frozen body of a previous traveler, a stark reminder of the mountain's lethal potential. Crossing the Kara-Kum Desert presented a different set of challenges, with temperatures soaring so high during the day that the sand burned their feet through their shoes. Water became their most valuable resource, and Izzut-Oollah details one harrowing account where they ran out of supplies and resorted to digging for groundwater. He describes the agonizing hours spent under the beating sun, anxiously digging and hoping to hit water before dehydration overcame them. At one point, they encountered a rare oasis, where he notes the ecstatic reactions of the men and animals as they rehydrated. As the sun set in the desert, temperatures dropped drastically, leaving them exposed to freezing cold. Izzut-Oollah recounts how they would build fires from sparse vegetation and huddle together, wrapping themselves in every layer of clothing available. He speaks of nights when the wind carried sand that coated their faces, forcing them to sleep with cloths wrapped around their heads for protection. During sandstorms, they could only crouch low and wait for the storm to pass, covering any exposed skin to avoid painful abrasions. Among the Turkmen, Izzut-Oollah witnessed their traditional way of life up close. He describes being invited into a large felt yurt where he was served tea and dried goat meat. The men wore thick, layered coats and massive turbans, each garment crafted for protection against the harsh climates. These tribes valued strength and survival, evidenced by their weapons, which included scimitars, daggers and muskets, often displayed prominently. Izzut-Oollah notes how the Turkmen were always ready for a raid or to defend themselves against rival tribes, creating an atmosphere of constant vigilance. When he reached Uzbek and Tajik settlements, Izzut-Oollah observed more structured communities, with distinct gender roles. He describes how the women wore long, colourful robes and embroidered headdresses, while the men engaged in trade and farming. In one account, an Uzbek merchant offered him hospitality, sharing a simple meal of flatbread and fermented milk. The Uzbek language, distinct from the Tajik Persian dialect, required an interpreter, and Izzut-Oollah highlights the linguistic diversity that defined each community's identity. In both Turkmen and Uzbek communities, he was often met with a welcoming yet cautious hospitality. The Turkmen were wary of strangers and gauged his trustworthiness before allowing him into their camp. He also recounts how, in Tajik areas, people were more reserved but courteous, engaging in formal greetings and exchanging small gifts as a sign of goodwill before discussing business. Traveling through areas near the Russian border, Izzut-Oollah frequently encountered Russian military posts set up to monitor and control the movement of goods and people. He notes how Russian soldiers in uniform patrolled, inspecting travelers for signs of smuggling. These checkpoints underscored Russia's strategic interests in extending influence over Central Asia. One Russian officer he encountered warned him of the region's bandits, emphasizing the dangers for travelers without an escort. In the city of Khiva, he witnessed the Persian influence on the local leadership, where Khans wore Persian-style robes and received Persian-style. Persian script adorned the walls of mosques, and Persian customs, such as formalized tea ceremonies, were integrated into local traditions. He recounts a conversation with a Khan who explained his loyalty to Persia as a necessity. describing it as a shield against potential Russian aggression. Izzut-Oollah details the delicate political landscape within Central Asia, where Khanates like Khiva, Bukhara and Samarkand maintained a complex web of alliances and rivalries. During his stay in Bukhara, he attended a gathering where the Khan openly debated the risks and benefits of aligning with Russia versus Persia. This moment gave him insight into the pressures local leaders faced to navigate foreign influence while preserving autonomy. The markets, or bazaars, of Samarkand and Bukhara were central hubs of activity. Izzut-Oollah paints a vivid picture of stalls packed with a range of goods from textiles to rare spices and gold. He describes the narrow lanes where vendors shouted prices, the scent of cumin and coriander filling the air, and traders haggling loudly over prices. Notably, he recalls a silk merchant showing him elaborate fabrics, each roll shimmering in the sunlight, hinting at the high demand for luxury goods. Caravans were essential for transporting goods across vast distances, and Izzut-Oollah often travelled with them for security. In one instance, he joined a caravan of over 50 camels carrying tea and silks destined for Russian markets. He describes the meticulous organisation required, with leaders managing provisions, timing rest stops and coordinating security to deter bandits. He recounts one night where guards stood watch as they rested, remaining vigilant for any sign of movement in the dark. Central Asian markets hosted a diverse mix of traders from regions as far as India, Persia and even China. Izzut-Oollah describes witnessing an exchange between an Indian spice merchant and a Persian silk trader who negotiated over prices in broken Russian. This diversity created a cosmopolitan atmosphere in these trading cities, where cultural exchanges were as prevalent as economic ones. Izzut-Oollah frequently observed the locals' religious practices, with mosques acting as central community spaces. In Bukhara, he visited a grand mosque with intricate tilework, where he noted the reverence with which people performed ablutions before entering. Inside, he was struck by the tranquility, with rows of worshippers praying silently. He comments on the devotion displayed, particularly during Friday prayers, where he was moved by the unity and discipline. During the Persian New Year, Nowruz, Izzut-Oollah was invited to partake in a celebration that included music, dancing and traditional games. He watched locals display horseback archery skills and engage in lively contests of strength. The festival culminated in a communal feast, where he enjoyed dishes spiced with herbs and accompanied by sweetened rice, marveling at the community spirit that brought people together from surrounding villages. Izzut-Oollah faced recurrent bouts of illness, aggravated by the poor sanitary conditions and limited medical supplies. He writes about a fever that left him bedridden for days, relying on local remedies to recover. This experience made him acutely aware of the vulnerability inherent in such journeys, especially as he watched other travellers succumb to similar ailments. Bandit attacks were a constant threat. In one incident, his caravan was ambushed at dusk, with bandits attempting to steal camels and supplies. He recalls the intense fear as they fought back, fending off attackers until they finally retreated. This encounter underscored the high risks of overland travel and the importance of remaining constantly vigilant. Izzut-Oollah often reflects on his internal struggles, noting moments when isolation and exhaustion made him question his decision to undertake such a grueling journey. Yet his accounts also reveal a sense of purpose and wonder that fueled his perseverance, despite the hardships. He expresses a profound sense of connection to the land and people of Central Asia, recognizing his journey as both a physical challenge and a profound spiritual experience. His reflections show how he balanced moments of doubt with a growing admiration for the resilience and complexity of the societies he encountered. Despite all obstacles, harsh weather, illness, bandit threats and cultural barriers, his dedication to exploring and understanding this remote part of the world kept him motivated, allowing him to complete a journey few had attempted. That's it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next videos.